Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to the LFC Transfer Room stream. Thank you all for joining today's. I'm joined today by Naked Chef, Race, as well as Steven. Hello, happy Friday, guys.
How's things, guys? How's everybody?
Hi guys.
Doing well, doing well.
Happy
Uh,
Friday, happy Friday.
hmm
Now,
I
obviously,
can
not
keep
as an
it PG and
exciting
just call me
Friday.
Chad. Don't worry about Naked Chef.
Not as an exciting Friday as last week's.
Sorry to
Obviously,
lag
there's
me.
no transfer incoming today like last week with Dominic Soboslai. But we still have plenty of topics to discuss today. First, I want to remind everyone: make sure to like and subscribe our channel. It helps us immensely. We definitely appreciate the support and the involvement. Make sure, of course, to leave comments on the chat as well. We'll be hitting topics or questions from the chat towards the end. Our first topic of today is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Building off his great end of run to the season, last 10, 12 matches, we've seen reports that he's cut his vacation or his holiday short to 1 week to focus on getting on the best shape of his career to lead us back into the Champions League. I'll go over to you, Chef. What do you think of Trent and his work effort there in improving as a player and coming into the best shape of his career?
I think the idea is that he might go back. He might go into that midfield role. Klopp might allow him to be more active when it comes to that inverted right back role. So then he has to have more. He has to be more athletic and to be able to play in that position. I also think it's great because it's showing initiative and with Henderson coming to almost to the end of his career at Liverpool, we're gonna need that other shining star to help lead the team. And that's also a thing for Henderson is that I don't think he's gonna leave the season because we don't have another talker in the team that's gonna bark at everyone and make sure that everyone's doing the job. So the way Trent is showing initiative, I feel like that can help lead to him possibly becoming the next vice captain under Van Dijk, and then maybe becoming captain later down the road. So yeah, it's great for Trent. And it's great for
Definitely
us.
positive signs there. Steven, we know obviously Trent had a great end of run to the season, but with him, working out and cutting his vacation short, he did the same when it was when we went on winter break last season, and again finished up strong. So do you envision Trent coming in and cementing his place as that inverted right back?
Yeah, more or less, I think it's going to help him massively on the defensive side of the ball, because 2019 we could say was probably Trent's best year on that Champions League trip that we took. He was very fast and very pacey and very light. Then over the past couple of years, he's kind of put on a small bit of weight to kind of gain a bit of strength, but he's kind of lost a step of pace. And that was pretty evident throughout the season, where the likes of Vinicius Jr. was just outpacing him. Now, that's not to say back in 2019 Trent would have been able to keep up with him, but he definitely would have been able to keep closer to him, if that makes sense, and keep pressure on him. You could kind of see it at the start of the season as well. While not to question his effort, but the energy wasn't there, and that's to be expected coming off playing quite literally every game possible the season previous. But thankfully now he's training at altitude, and anybody that knows long distance runners as well, those guys would train in the likes of Mexico, the likes of Colorado, the likes of anywhere that has a high altitude. It enhances your cardiovascular health, and your stamina just goes through the roof. It'll help him into cementing into that midfield role. And what we were mentioning, something that you mentioned, Rigo, a little bit earlier, we were mentioning this in the stream on Wednesday too, that if we were to introduce somebody as a new captain, with if Jordan Henderson decides to leave or hang it up or retire or whatever it may be, Henderson kind of has to, or not Henderson, Trent has to kind of step into that midfield role, because you can't really be a vocal point from the right back. You got to be in the middle of everything.
Definitely, he has to withstand that pounding in the middle of the pitch as opposed to just handling defensive duties or doing overlaps. Race, just to kind of close the loop here on Trent. His confidence has to be at an all-time high now with the end of the season and his great displays with the national team. Uh, how do you see him coming into the season? Can he be the assist leader in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, the end of the season or this break kind of came at a bad time for him because he was really in the form of his life in the midfield. Playing his arguably, one of his best runs of form with Liverpool, and he's kind of he's 24 years old. He's entering that prime of his career already. I mean, he's been in the team for so long. We forget he's still not the oldest guy in the room, but he's entering his prime years. He's going to be. He knows he has so much more football ahead of him, and he's going to be playing so much more. And so, yeah, I mean, he's figured something out with this new role we found him in. He just gotta, it's just kind of came at a bad time for him to stop playing. He kind of wants to get back into it in training, I hope. And so, I can only imagine just kind of the high that he was on to the end of the season, like you said, with the couple England games as well. Hopefully finding a role in England, that we've been trying, wanting to see for a long time now. Maybe he'll finally get that run going, especially with the Euros coming up next year. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly an exciting time for him personally, and hopefully we can see, we've seen the quality that he's had on the field, and hopefully we can see more of that soon.
Yeah, and going to what you said, Stephen, as well, the training at altitude, it could all just be perhaps he's just trying to go after James Milner's title of the lactic test now that Millie's moved on to Brighton. Once again, please make sure to like and subscribe the channel. We appreciate all the support and your involvement, but that definitely helps us when you do like and subscribe. Make sure to share with everyone that you can. Moving on to our next topic, and yes, can it be a little clickbaity, JD? Possibly, but we do have to comment on reports that have come out for the past 2 days, even if they had been rebutted. And one of those reports is that Liverpool has made a 200 million euro or pound offer for Kylian Mbappe to PSG. I'll go in reverse order this time. Race. Anything to this? To me, it's just a wild fantasy to even type that up into Twitter.
Yeah, that's definitely something where maybe it's probably not. There's not a lot of truth to that. I mean, you look at the investment that we put, in the forwards, especially recently with Gakpo and in the winter transfer window, and then of course Nunez last summer. That certainly, who wouldn't love to see Mbappe in a Liverpool shirt, but I think the reality is that's kind of a lost cause now. Maybe last summer when there was another, if he was going to leave or go, Madrid, whatnot. I think it's fun to speculate. It's kind of the dog days of summer here. We kind of need to, talk about some stuff. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, I don't see Mbappe ending up in a Liverpool shirt.
Now, I think all of us can pretty much agree on that based on our previous spending with FSG and the amount of cost it would take to bring Mbappe. But Stephen, I'll pose you this question. Last summer, we basically got screwed by Mbappe's decision to re-sign with PSG. It caused that domino effect of Tchouaméni being signed by Real Madrid. And this summer appears we might be waiting for that Mbappe domino to fall again, and perhaps Real Madrid might be looking to offload some of their superstars in the midfield, namely Tchouaméni or Federico Valverde. I'll pose this question to you. If you had your choice based on our current team's composition, which of those two players would you go for?
Tchouaméni, because Valverde is already a mainstay in that Madrid side, and that's all fine and well. To be perfectly honest, I don't think either one is coming to us. I don't think any of the three are coming anywhere near us at the moment, and that's not a bad thing either. Mbappe is just a fever dream. It's way out of price range for us. There's no point in even entertaining that conversation, unfortunately. But yeah, last year it kind of got us with Tchouaméni, but this year it could also kind of get us with Tchouaméni. But realistically, I don't, unless Tchouaméni is really, really unhappy with his playing time, which there were some reports that came out during the season that he was. He could come and start for us, but when it really all depends on his will to win as a player. Is he fine in having more minutes but playing in a lesser competition, if you want to qualify that as Europa? Or is he fine sitting on the bench and playing less minutes in a Champions League competitive side? Along with the likes of Jude coming in there, and if Mbappe comes in as well, there's less and less minutes to fight for there. So that could open an opportunity for us. But I know earlier in the transfer window, they were asking for somewhere near the region of 80 million euro for Valverde. So it wouldn't shock me that they'd be looking for something of a similar value for Tchouaméni too. And I think even at 80 million euro, I think that's a little bit too pricey for ourselves. The transfer market at the moment is very quiet, waiting on Mbappe's decision, and I think he has until the end of the month, which is why I don't think we've gone anywhere near Lavia, because we're kind of waiting. There's no official bid yet, so we're kind of waiting to see how that domino falls and where the pieces fall after that. I read in a report earlier today that came from Sky Sports that there is suspect in the PSG camp that Mbappe had already agreed prior to his decision to not re-sign in 2024. He'd already agreed to sign with Real Madrid on free, and PSG are now of the mind that you're either going to sign with us or we're going to sell you to the highest bidder. It doesn't even have to be Madrid. So this could be absolutely diabolical, and it could send shockwaves throughout the whole transfer market in the next couple of weeks. So the second his domino falls, I expect a lot of stuff to hit the fan.
Definitely. When you're talking about arguably the best player on the planet, you're about to see some action and some movement. I'll pose that same question back over to you, Chef Lee. If you had your choice of Tchouaméni or Valverde, which one would you go with?
I'll take Tchouaméni. I think we need that more. He's more of a defensive player. Plus, Camavinga is more established, so it's a lot easier to draw Tchouaméni out than say Valverde, who has only I think it's Kroos or Modric on his side that he has to, and then coming to the end of their career. So Valverde has a much easier time getting into the starting lineup than Tchouaméni. So that therefore it'll be a more easier draw for us to get Tchouaméni in. With regards to Mbappe, it could be possible for us. Obviously, it's not going to happen. It's a pipe dream, but it could be possible if PSG use their assets correctly in terms of the Nike deal and the having LeBron James as one of the owners. You can make it maybe the third kid, like how PSG has the Jordan sign. You can put the LeBron sign. There's factors that you can work into to help us with the Mbappe deal to make it easier for us. But obviously, it's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, the only position he can challenge is the right side, and you got Salah, and you're not going to take Salah out of the Liverpool starting team. I mean, even if you are Mbappe, not anytime soon. So, yeah, it's a pipe dream for us to have Mbappe.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think at that price range, we probably wouldn't be shopping for any of those three. Unfortunately, especially considering that we had to take out a third-party loan to pay the Dominic Szoboszlai's release clause as it is. Perhaps it might be a little bit too pricey for us. But definitely a lot of action to still take place here in that summer window. But it does appear once again we are beholden to Kylian Mbappe's decision and PSG's decision whether or not to sell. Once again, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us tremendously. We thank you all for the support. Yesterday, making the rounds across Twitter, causing quite a stir depending on which side of the fence you sit, were pictures of Jordan Henderson training and taking some quite provocative pictures of him doing some boxing regimen. I'm not sure if a change of career is on the floor or if he's simply preparing to fight for his place with this squad, with the midfield additions. I'll kick over to you, Race. Do you think Jordan Henderson is of a mind that he's still fighting for a starting position and he wants to be a starter for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because you look at obviously the signings we've made, bringing in McAllister and Szoboszlai, and just the more options that we have in midfield. It's a good thing to have competition that can bring out the best in players. And I would hope that Henderson kind of sees that. It's like, oh man, I really need to get going, get some off-season workouts, some off-season boxing, whatever it was he was doing. And so, certainly, having competition is a good thing. And, I think we've kind of wanted to see here his role on the field, diminish a little bit. I'm sure there's been times where we see Henderson's name on the team sheet and there's some groans and, oh man, here's Henderson again. But, hopefully, we've seen his play diminish a little bit as he gets older, but still a valuable piece of the team, of course. Captain, leader, and all that. And so, he's got his work cut out for him for sure, and hopefully he's up to the task.
I'll go over to you, Chef Lee. Do you think Henderson is thinking he's going to be a starter this season, or is he willing to accept a diminished role and leading from the bench?
I have Henderson in my starting team against Chelsea next to McAllister. I don't see Henderson leaving this season, especially with all the new guys coming in and James Miller going out. There's not a lot of big voice inside the dressing room, and that's where you miss Henderson. When you don't have Henderson in the team, you miss the voice, you miss the guys someone switching the guys on in the midfield. So I don't see him leaving this season. Might leave next season. Maybe if Stevie can give us a favor and overprice Henderson, possibly. But I mean, not this season. He's a very valuable asset to us.
Yeah, especially with Milner leaving, I can't foresee a way out for Jordan Henderson, even if plenty of us wouldn't mind if he were to exit. Steven, I'll pose the same question to you. Do you think Henderson is still I'm a starter on this team until they drag my carcass off of Anfield's pitch, or do you think he's humble enough to be a leader from not the foreground, but in the background?
Both, because there's no player that plays a competitive sport, whether it's amateur or professional, that will accept being told you're not good enough to start. Anybody that's ever played a professional sport or even a competitive sport in any nature, amateur or otherwise, if you have won with a particular team and then you start getting older and you feel like you've lost a step, Father Time is undefeated, unfortunately, and it's very hard for people of certain mentalities to let that go. He, in his own mind, until Jurgen Klopp tells him you're on the bench, he's a starter, he's the captain. And that's the mentality you want. Any other mentality, and I would want to sell him straight away. If he doesn't have that mentality, I don't want him. But at the same time, he could very much mold into that James Miller role of coming off the bench to kind of seal a game away. I know we complained about it an awful lot during the season, but James Miller did come in quite a lot and settle things down. If we were kind of starting to lose the run of ourselves a little bit and losing a slight bit of control, James Miller come in and just hit a strong tackle and kind of slow the game down and calm the game down and lead us to a victory or to scramble a couple of points that way. I think he'd be fantastic for that role. He's a very good leader. He's a very good voice in the locker room, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, as I said, Father Time is undefeated. He's going to be going one way or another. I'll use one of the other sports that I watch, American football, for an example. This time last season, for my team, the 49ers, they had 3 different quarterbacks. They had Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and then they had Trey Lance. Trey Lance gets injured immediately. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back in, starts, and then he gets injured, and then Brock Purdy comes in. It's kind of a next man up attitude, but the whole narrative that was going over the offseason leading up to that is it's going to light a fire under them, that there is a competition, and that's clearly evident by his social media posts.
As a New York Giants fan, I would argue that perhaps you had 0 quarterbacks over in San Francisco. But
yeah, that's what happens when they don't have an arm anymore.
But the other point I kind of want to bring up is you said perhaps any professional was going to fight tooth and nail for his spot up until the last breath. But I just want to bring up the point of news that came out yesterday that Marco Reus of Borussia Dortmund is willing. He's been the captain there forever. Unfortunately, they fell just short of of winning a title this season. But he's giving up his captain's armband because he feels it should go to a starter. and that he's not at the level to start matches week in, week out. So that's where you kind of have that balance: what's best for the team or what's best for the individual.
I get it's more not so much he would sabotage the own team's performance for his own personal gain to become a starter. It's more in his mind and his mentality. Jordan Henderson is still Liverpool's starting captain, and that's the mentality you would want as a player itself. And I don't mind that at all. Whether or not he's come to terms with the fact that he may not be starting, that's between him, Klopp, and the team personnel themselves. But I still want it, regardless of whether you're playing 1 minute or 90 minutes, if you're not fighting for every second that you're on the pitch, I don't think you should be wearing a Liverpool shirt. And Jordan Henderson clearly has the mentality to be doing that. Whether or not he's going to play all of that time, or if he's going to play more minutes or less minutes, or if he's going to be coming off the bench and whatnot, that remains to be seen at the moment. What Jordan Henderson's main quality was back when he came to us after he took over the job from Steven Gerrard, which was massive shoes to fill, was very much his doggedness and his legs and his ability to run himself into the ground. Time has kind of caught up on him, and he doesn't necessarily have that endurance and legs underneath him anymore, and that's fine. We can still utilize him in a much more minimalized way and bring him on to seal a game, or bring him on at the start to set the tone, and then allow the other players then to take over after that point. And then at a certain point he might then be willing to sort of take a step back and be like, I'm good now, I can walk off into the sunset and whatnot, I've done what I need to do here at Liverpool. But at the same time, you still want him to have the mentality that he's going to fight tooth and nail for every minute, because iron sharpens iron. And if he's battling that hard, the other guy's got to battle just as hard to get in ahead of him, which means we're going to have star players coming forward behind him and in front of him.
Definitely, you definitely want him setting the level there. But one thing I would hope with him with reduced minutes is the ability to play a little bit harder than he has in the past few seasons. He's been a little gun shy going in for a tackle, unfortunately, and that's not what you need for a quote unquote role player or a guy setting the example there. You want hard nosed football all the way. Once again, guys, thank you all for joining the stream, and make sure to like and subscribe. Helps us tremendously. On to our next topic, and that would be Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo Lavia. We seem to be again waiting for that domino to fall. A lot of rumors, a lot of teams supposedly interested, but the valuation that Southampton has for him of £50 million seems to be turning away or keeping away any substantial offers. I'll go over to you, Race. There's been talk that Liverpool need to sell sell to buy in order to place an offer in for Lavia. What do you think on that? And is he valued? Is he worth the £50 million? I'll throw those to you.
I think he's not worth 50 million. I'd be more comfortable with, closer to like the 35 to 40 million range. I don't believe that, we necessarily have to sell a player in order to obtain his services. It's not that, even if it would be in the 40 million range, I don't think it'd be that expensive of a deal where we have to sell off people. The question would be is then you have, too many midfielders. You have people in midfield, but, ideally, he would slot in kind of in that number 6 role maybe and challenge Fabinho for his, push him for a starting spot down the road. I think that, it's a move where, we talk about how often, we need to sell players to, sell to buy and stuff like that. At some point we just need to make the deal happen and not worry about the price down the road. Klopp has shown that, he rarely, misses on transfers, or, they almost, most of them work out. That's just, and so that price tag, then increases later on. And then, it's a good deal that he makes. So, I don't think that we would necessarily have to sell anyone to obtain his services, but certainly, I wouldn't be surprised to see if, I don't think we've sold anyone this summer. So I would imagine, we're just kind of waiting for the right offer, just kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure what's up there, but something like that.
I'll pose that same question over to you, Stephen. Is he worth that price tag, or is it just, as commented there, competition and perhaps that homegrown factor?
It's both. It's previous Premier League club selling to a current Premier League club. And something that was noted today, I believe it was either late last night or early today, that Southampton have done something very similar with a new young midfielder, a 20-year-old guy. The name escapes me. He's recently just signed. I think they paid something like €9 million, £9 million for him on a buyback clause and release clause and everything like that. Again,
from Man City, just like
from
Romeo.
Man City,
Yep.
just like Romeo. So it's not as it's clearly we've seen this before. That could very easily be a Romeo Lavia replacement. As we mentioned, the domino of Mbappe could very well fall quite easily. Liverpool, according to Fabrizio Romano, are leading the race. We've had a lot of talks on the player side. Arsenal are there too. They've had some talks on the player side. No official bid has been put in yet. But with regards for £50 million, no, not even close to being worth that. Maybe with additional add-ons, it could come close to that. But if that price was to drop to between 35 and 38 million pounds, I'd have a little bit more confidence in us going for that. Do we need to sell to get him? Yes and no, because we do lack some non-homegrown spots, and there are some players that could leave that could free up some spots that would allow us to then pursue other targets. Something that we mentioned on Wednesday's stream was the likes of Inacio from Sporting Lisbon would be my dream signing. He's a fantastic young centre-back. He could very well be the next Virgil van Dijk for us. I fully believe that, and he would make my transfer window if we got him, and it's a €45 million, not even pounds, euro release clause for him. Players that could be gone, the likes of Thiago, Henderson, Joel Matip, Costas Tsimikas. Unfortunately, I really hope he doesn't go. Joe Gomez, I would happily fire him out of a cannon to get him off the team.
That's my cousin, man. Watch out.
Nat Phillips as well could be going, and obviously Caoimhín Kelleher, my own countryman, wants to kind of get first team minutes, and that's very hard to do when you're behind the world's best goalkeeper in Alisson Becker. I think we could very easily get anywhere up to about £70 million for all of them if they were to all go at the right price. But that's a lot of people. That's a lot of turnover. So you wouldn't want to get rid of all of them.
They need replacing as well. So that
yeah. So you're kind of it's a never-ending circle, so to speak.
I'll go over to you, Shav. Do you think Liverpool need to sell in order to buy, or at this point, again, from the lack of investment it's been reported and it's been corroborated, a lack of investment compared to other Premier League teams, should we be selling to buy in the first place?
No, not for Lavia. I think we have youngsters in our team. Bajcetic is coming back now. He was an asset for us last season. We don't want to stem his growth. He's got a very high ceiling. Sorry. And then we have Tyler Morton coming back. Tyler Morton was Stefan Bajcetic 2 seasons ago when we went for the quad. And then he went out, got some first team experience, and so now I'm assuming he's going to come back with much more maturity in that midfield that he can actually challenge for spots or maybe even jump above Bajcetic, So I don't think Lavia is worth the risk when you have 2 decent players sitting that's willing to sit behind Fabinho, willing to challenge and build themselves up, instead of spending 50 million on a player that has an assumption that he needs to be challenging for Fabinho's spot straight away or even being above Fabinho in that sense. So no, I don't think we should go for Lavia. If we want to go for Ignacio, yes, 100% we should sell maybe Costas, Matip. Some of the lesser, how can I say, substitute players, the bottom of the list kind of guys. Yeah, let's start maybe shipping them or make some space for other players that we might find are more assets. Because next season there will be another Lavia. There will be another Henderson on Fabinho or Mbappe, type of player. So we do need to find space in the squad, because I just saw a report now that's saying that we only have 1 spot left to fill for the European spots in terms of having an overseas player. So we have a lot of restrictions that we have to start. You need to make space for a lot of other new players coming in, for fresh ideas and stuff like that. So no, again, Lavia, no. Other assets like a new centre back, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I think the obvious candidates that we'd want to go would be Matip again, running down his deal. How many players are we just going to let go and run out their deals without receiving anything back? And we're not really counting on
Yeah.
him to be a starter at all within the club. And the other, again, because of our tactical changes, Costas Tsimikas, who again didn't play as much last season to begin with. He's going to see an even more reduced role if we were to sign that left-footed center back as well, because of the tactical changes and kind of playing more of a three in the back with Trent shifting up to midfield. So very interesting couple of weeks ahead of us. Uh, Preseason is knocking right on the door. Players are already arriving at the training ground to begin their preseason work, and shortly the team will be departing to Germany to kick off preseason training. So, kind of, Klopp alluded that he wanted all these signings done before that started, but as we noted on the stream earlier, we're kind of waiting on a couple of dominoes to fall uh, before the team is finalized. So, preseason actually starts tomorrow. Thank you, Jay Muse, for putting it on the chat. Yeah, he's put on some dates here. I'll share with you guys.
A lot of games
I
there. I'm very
think
much looking
the
forward to
latest
watching.
Klopp would want the guy to come in would be Singapore. The Singapore leg, just
Yeah.
before the Singapore leg. I think that will be the latest for him to want a new guy to come in.
Yeah, well, definitely you got to see, got to finalize this team for 23-24. Uh, On
Yeah.
to another topic. Jay Muse once again contributing to the chat here, sending everyone a reminder that both Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones will be playing the under 21 final tomorrow versus Spain. Curtis Jones has taken a couple of souvenirs with him from this tournament, a couple of Man of the Match awards. Definitely building on his run of form towards the close of last season, and looking to cement his spot into this team in the midfield. Uh,
Yeah, it's
Fortunately,
catching
on
fire.
my end, I am half Spaniard, so I will be rooting for Spain to lift the trophy tomorrow. I do apologize to any English fans here or any Brits, but hoping both of our boys do put on a good display tomorrow. Kind of jumping off of both of them. Where do we
Can I pose a
envision?
question?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Sorry. I just want to say, what about Angel Gomez? I know he's a United graduate. He's a Red Devil through and through. But I mean, the way he's playing next to Jones in that pivot, it's a thought, a food for thought in terms of having maybe a different type of player, cost less than Lavia, and someone who's known the English game already. That could be for me a better option, and then we can still have money for another centre back.
My concern with him, he's a 5'6" midfield player, and
Yeah.
playing in Ligue 1, a little less physical league. Shifting over to the Premier League, I'm not sure if his game would translate as well. So that would be my concern, but definitely
Yeah.
a great thought there. I'll open it up to everyone else here on the stream. What are your thoughts on Angel Gomez? He's definitely has looked good in that under 21 tournament.
Yeah, he's looked good, but as you said, that height is a very big factor for him. It's all well and good in the league that he's currently in, where it's not as physical. But then when you have the likes, when you're in a midfield and you have to push forward and you're facing the likes of,
Or Rodri right there in the midfield.
yeah, a Rodri straight away, or even when you're pushing up, or if he was anywhere outside the box, and you have the likes of a Van Dijk standing beside, Van Dijk would tower over him, and even our own current midfielders. I think Szoboszlai himself is about 6 foot tall. The two centre backs that we were linked with, both Levi Colwell and Inacio, they're both 6'1", 6'2". They're not small guys. They're quite big and bulky frames. You got to deal with an awful lot of physical people, and we kind of, something that somebody pointed out, Jamie Carragher pointed it out, and people think that he kind of had to eat his words about it. Martinez for United, who was considered quite a short centre back, against the top 6 teams, Martinez has been absolutely rinsed. he's not performed well against any of the top 6 teams that have big physical forwards. And people and it's all well and good to play well against the bottom 5 teams, but when you're playing for Man United and you're playing Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, Man City, and even this season with the emergence of Brighton and Newcastle, you're playing against big, strong players, and just Martinez hasn't lived up to the hype on that side of things. So there's a lot to be said for the physical profile of a player and how far they can be brought that way, which is why the likes of a Romeo Lavia, or a Kepren Turam from Nice, who are big, stocky, 6 foot tall guys that are long and rangy. They're the kind of guys you need to be looking for, especially in that position, because you've got to be very, very good against the press or the counter press coming back towards us. Because if you're playing for a Liverpool side, you're going to be counter-attacked constantly, and that's what sort of left us fairly susceptible at the start of this season, why we lost a lot of games. Fabinho just wasn't at the races. Now, he regained form with Trent then in beside him with the change in tactics, but if we were to get a replacement for him, there's no point in going backwards and getting somebody smaller and less physically dominant. We would need to go and get somebody that could be a physical force in that spot.
Yeah, Race, any thoughts on Angel Gomez?
Yeah, well, I can't say I know too much about him, but like you detailed, he's kind of a smaller midfielder, and that's kind of, we already have, assuming, you still have Thiago in the squad, and then you have Harvey Elliott, who's not the biggest guy, and then Bajcetic too, who's, a relatively, on the thinner side right now as he, as at his youthful age. So adding another, kind of a smaller midfielder, to our ranks wouldn't be ideal. Certainly after a season where, like, we got run off the field sometimes in that midfield, in certain games. So we definitely need to look for the bigger profile, bigger build, from midfielders like like Lavia, like Thuram. So I think it's very important that we get someone that's can physically beef up our midfield.
Definitely. It seems like we're forming a team of giants there. As I believe, Stephen, you said, Szoboszlai over 6 feet. Cody Gakpo is Van Dijk's height. Darwin Nunez, 6'2". So definitely looking imposing. This is why I also wanted Kepren Thuram, 6'4" frame, just coming out of midfield, dribbling at you. I'm like, what are you going to do with a giant dribbling the ball right at you? But we'll see how the rest of the transfer window shakes out. But thank you, everyone, for joining today's stream. Once again, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us tremendously. We appreciate all your support. I want to thank Naked Chef Lee at Naked Chef Lee 24, Race, as well as Stephen Garrett for joining me on today's stream. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And as always, up the Reds.
Have a good weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. So to you.